It seemed like the planning for distributing this information to the reporters was very careful that you did. You had three reporters, so there'd be backups, and you took precautions on how to cover the security for that. But it was almost as if there was no end plan beyond that for yourself. What was in your mind? What was your original game plan in terms of where you thought it would end then? And did new things open up while you were there that offered you maybe a way out?
I had to recognize that this was something of which I was only a very small piece. I was the mechanism of presenting information that had been concealed from the American people that we needed to know. We had our most senior officials in government, whether it was James Clapper, the Director of National Intelligence, Keith Alexander, former Director of the N.S.A., they were giving sworn statements in front of Congress that were false. And we have video of that now, if you look back. It's not really a question of dispute. But when it gets to that level of severity, when the consequences for our democracy are so great, somebody has to step forward. But as far as what happens to them, that's an open question that they cannot answer. So when I discussed this with the journalists, I told them that my plan was not to decide for myself what should happen, but to ask the world for justice. The most likely scenario was always that I would be arrested and that I would get sent to jail. I don't think anybody on the team, whether it was myself, whether it was the lawyers, whether it was the journalists, had even imagined the situation would turn out like it eventually did. After I departed Hong Kong, the State Department froze my passport. So when I landed in Russia, I wasn't able to leave. I didn't at the same time want to put in an asylum claim. I wanted to continue. And, I wondered about that. I wondered about the reason for the State Department, why they would want me to be in Russia, particularly when on TV at the time they were saying, this guy knows all this information, he's got millions of documents, which was actually not true. I had actually destroyed the documents that I held after I turned them over to the journalists. And I was asking myself, why was this happening? And then, the more I talked to people in the civil liberties community and the activist community about what was going on, the clearer it became that this was actually a political strategy. I had told the government, that I wasn't going to be trying to blackmail them to do anything like this. And they believed me. And they realized that by putting me in Russia, they actually diminished my voice, and they enabled a very powerful attack. It would not be going away.
Can you imagine possibly staying in Russia forever?
I'll do what needs to be done to continue my work. At this point, the issues have so vastly overshadowed what I do that I feel like I have a lot more flexibility. I have a lot of disagreements with the policy of the Russian government. I think they do some horrible, atrocious things, particularly when it comes to the right to privacy and the manner in which they go about surveillance, the extent they do that, and the way we see that affecting journalism and public opinion. But ultimately, I answer to my country, and the way things go, the policies of my government. Maybe one day, if I speak fluent Russian, I know everything about Russian society and their politics, I'll be able to engage more fully, but my first duty is my own people.
I just wanted to ask you a couple sort of mild questions about your life. One is, what you miss most about America at this point?
The only question, whenever I think about that, the question is, what don't I miss? Whether it's my family, whether it's my home, whether it's my friends, whether it's my work at the agency. I was fulfilled and happy. I think it's critical to remember that the revelations of last year, the actions that I took, were not specifically about surveillance. That's a misreading. It's not a complaint about policy. It's about the accountability of government. It's about the relationship between the governing and those who are being governed. And if we allow that to slip, we lose what our country is. So I was willing to make sacrifices because I wanted everybody else who I love and that I have around me, whether family, whether friends, whether they were simply people who lived in the same country I did. I wanted them to enjoy the same things, that we've always had going forward, that we are beginning to see come increasingly under threat. Things as simple as having my old beat-up car.
And
there's a lot to miss. It's a great country.
For more of the New Yorker Festival, subscribe to the New Yorker channel.